what Sukha means to us, and it is the pursuit of mindfulness and happiness through alignment of the mind and the body. Mm-hmm. At Sukha, we do it through physical struggle. So everyone that comes through the door is going to have some sort of physical struggle, some sort of mental struggle, going down these deep, dark places that we take you. And there's going to be some sort of doing it with the people that you love in your community. And I think the more we keep saying what our mission is and what Sukha means to us, the more it comes to life and the more people start chasing their own Sukha. Because like I said, everyone's journey
is different.
Is so different. Even if it's inside a 3,000 square foot space, you're going to use it different than how I'm going to use it, and Brian's going to use it different than how we use it. It's like, as long as you're doing it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Construction MF'ers. I have a fantastic couple fellas here that are my personal friends, guys I've known better part of a decade now. I'm really excited to let them share their journey and story with you. I think it's going to be amazing to hear the relation between how health and fitness, executive leadership, entrepreneurship, starting your business, and trying to make things work into your schedule when everyone's busy. There's two guys here that have watched lots and hundreds of people do it, from professional athletes that you would all know their names very well, all the way down to a regular human like myself. So, guys, I'm excited to have Bryan Tissot and Dylan Smith, who are both the founders of Sukha Club here in Tampa, Florida, and I'm excited to have them tell you your story. Welcome, fellas.
Thanks for having us, Scott.
It's a new environment for us to see each other.
First off, you're not a just regular normal human in that gym. You're
That's true.
Absolute savage, by the way. Okay. And everybody knows that.
We're going to have to cut that part out. I think of myself as a regular human that tries to work out while I'm taking the beating in the entrepreneurial world. And then I lose at a consistent and rapid pace in my own house. So anywhere I can catch a win against any other people, which typically is at 6 a.m. in your gym, I'm trying my hardest.
I know you are.
So let's jump right into it, because you guys hit on something right out of the gate. I think one of the coolest things, and for those of you that have listened to me a long time and don't understand, I used to have a health and fitness company many, many years ago. And so I understand their perspective and where they're coming from in the short year that I did this. But one of the coolest parts about, I think, what you guys do is you are in a very unique and genuine space with people while they're working out over a consistent and long period of time. That's also very focused. And if we all think about our lives, like how much time, even your own kids and spouse, do you really get to spend a consistent hour a day in a super vulnerable place for years with people? Like, you really get to know people and who they are. And so can you talk a little bit about that perspective and what you guys have learned along the way on that, and just any stories or people that jump out to you?
You want to kick it up?
Kick it off, baby.
I mean, like in which way though? Like, can you just...
Yeah, like think of like you're able to, you're around people every day and conversations every day, and people eventually build relationships, and you watch like a regular person come in who has a business. You've watched a professional athlete that was in high school make it to the major leagues or the NBA or Wimbledon or any one of the sports that you're in, NFL, all the sports that you guys have seen. And many of these people went from high school on. So you've seen that journey. You've seen individuals who have came in one day and said they're starting a business, and 8 years later they sold it, and you watched that journey, regular person. You've watched other, what I like to call entrepreneurs, people that are just hammering it at a company, finding success. Individuals who have had maybe different vices, maybe they're alcoholics, maybe they had other problems and issues, and watched them like recover. You've seen all these little different mini journeys. And so what I guess I'm asking is, how do you see in those journeys that you've watched, what characteristics do you see in those people, the way they're able to articulate it? What makes someone like successful on that path like that versus someone that's not? And for the audience here who's trying to run a business and they're getting their face kicked in every day and their family's going and they're going, like, man, I just don't have time for fitness.
No, for sure.
So the demographic that we've kind of catered towards, it's important that they are checking their ego at the door. The people who we're not seeing come in with a business idea and stay all the way through, see their idea through, those are the people we're not seeing their idea through. They're the ones who are, whether they're not fitting in the gym community or being a part of like the family we're trying to create here. We don't see those members more than a few sessions. They see themselves out the door pretty quickly. But what is super cool is the ones who do check the ego at the door and come in and do go to that vulnerable state. We see them stay, and we see them lean onto people like you that have been around since I think we had our first training session in 2016 with you, which we've seen you do it. Like we were recording a podcast in a studio that is yours now.
Yeah.
So, we've seen you and the girls go from Sydney just trying to climb up the rope at the first gym, and now she's leading the youth groups. So I think the first thing is check the ego at the door, and then being vulnerable and leaning on the people around you. We're trying to put those types of people together. And in the fitness industry, once you start training, walls start to come down, you start to actually capitalize and ask questions. And that's a big part of our motto is like, once those walls do come down, like support the people and bring out the deep, darker stuff that the people truly do want to work on. They just don't have those opportunities other than typically that 1 hour in the day.
Yeah. And I think just to follow up on that, one of the main reasons we created and built Sukha was to, like, I really think I can use me as a personal example. Like, I think one of the key components to keep growing in life, you need to go through some sort of disruption. Whether it's every 2 years, every 3 years, whether it's from a personal standpoint, from a professional standpoint. I think like I went through different stages of disruption in my life, which really like allowed me to be where I am now. And then we wanted to, with Sukha, create this place that we can offer like that type of disruption to our people. And I know from my own side, like going through that type of disruption, it's not easy. Like you gotta really like kick yourself in the ass and then say, oh my God, like it's gonna be tough. And then I think a lot of people nowadays are not willing to do that, to go through that feeling of discomfort for a few months. Whether it can be a few weeks, it can be a few months, it can be a year or two, depends. But I think like what we've seen, it's amazing that we were able to create like a space where people can feel comfortable to go through that feeling of disruption. And then
the uncomfortable.
The uncomfortable. And then a very basic example. I'm from Switzerland, and then I knew when I was like 15, 16 that I had to make a change in my life in order to keep growing. I was like with a group of friends. It was just like not evolving. So I was like, I knew that I had to do something that would disrupt everything around me, my routine, my surroundings, in order to keep growing. And then I made the hard decision at that time to leave everything behind, my family, my friends, and move to the US. And then, not gonna lie, the first 3 months were probably the hardest months of my life because I didn't speak English, I didn't know anyone. But then when I look back, that was probably the most important disruption in my life. And it really told me that, wow, you need to go through that type of experience every few years in order to keep growing.
Yeah, you're building a set of skills and traits that you just never had, and it's going to equip you with different things.
Exactly. And then it forces you to just to grow, and then it's gonna suck. The first few months is gonna suck, but you're gonna come back so much stronger on the other side.
So you guys mentioned like people that are on these journeys, and sometimes they see themselves out, right? Or maybe gets too hard, maybe it's not the right place, or they're just not as committed to whatever that journey is. But there's a lot that are. What characteristics and traits do you see in those people that are common, regardless of what journey path they're on, professional athlete or regular or business, that those skills, when you see them, you're like, ooh, that they got a shot?
Their
consistency
and discipline. I mean, it all comes down to discipline. And then the things they have under that discipline is they're consistent every single day. and they have their non-negotiables in their life.
And the perfect example is you. Like, you know that every day, 6 a.m., you're going to be here, you're going to be at Sukha, and then you're going to get your training done. And then doesn't matter like what happened the day before, doesn't matter how you feel, you've disciplined enough where you're going to always show up and then always make it happen. And then that's a big difference between those who don't stick with us and then those who stick.
What can people expect? Like, I agree with you. I mean, like, to me, at this point in my life, when I'm not working out, it's hard. My day's harder.
Mm-hmm.
It's just harder. I don't know what it is. I mean, I think I have an idea what it is, but whatever. But what can someone who isn't working out consistently, that's just trying to like, I just want to get started, like, what can they expect to, like, the way they feel now, they know, but now they start working out. They're into it for a couple days. They're into it for a couple weeks, months. What can they expect? How can they expect to feel different? Like, what things can they start to see? Like, what changes would be made if they incorporated this into
A majority of it is not physical to start. It's like, think about how many relationships you've built from the time you get out of your truck and come into the gym. By then, you've met someone at the front desk and had a conversation. You've met someone on the training floor. You've had a conversation. So already, you're having conversations you would have never normally had. That's to start, and then obviously the endorphins of actually what happens in the body once you start training, just the dump of dopamine and things like that. So that's another thing.
For sure.
And then just the feeling of like accomplishment, like you did the hard thing, whether you made it a half hour or you made it an hour, whether you said you were going to go work out that day and maybe it was 20 minutes in your garage or it happened to be a walk, but you did what you said you were going to do. And then just that feeling of like doing something that you said you were going to do has a lot of power.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we've all done Andy Frisella's 75 Hard program and seeing the benefits. But one of the things I think that's awesome about fitness that I never knew when I was younger, I was kind of never really got into it through high school and even in college, really. There was no set fitness program. Like, here's what you're going to eat, here's what you're going to do. Even despite being in college and even playing college athletics at any point, they just sent you to the weight room. It wasn't like, I remember there would be a card, like, do this and this, but it wasn't nearly like we are now 25 years later. But some of that's 25 years later, some of that's whatever. But if you're an entrepreneur or you're in business or you're thinking about your career, regardless, it's like this long journey. You're trying to hit these accomplishments and you're like, man, this takes forever. And I think a lot of people think of a fitness journey like that. But what I can tell you is there is no faster thing you can do, in my opinion, to see monumental results than the fitness world. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but like, you can lose 100 pounds 100 times faster than you can have success in work.
Yes.
That's true.
And it's that's like that part. Once you click and realize that, if you just stay consistent, there's like it's like not even a long journey. And for a bunch of entrepreneurs that are listening to this, or people in business, or trying to go somewhere in your career journey, like in like half of the year, you could be like a completely different human being,
100%.
which is nuts. And so I always tell people, like, encourage, like, get into it for that reason alone, and then see like we were playing with a whole different set of weapons then. Like, how much faster can you make your successful career? How much faster can you be a better dad, better
Well, because when you make that decision to start training, it's like you're going to do the other hard things as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you spoke on 75 Hard. Like, you're going to drink the water. You're going to choose to eat a little bit cleaner because you know it's going to make you feel a little bit better from that to that next workout, or you're going to want to capitalize on the workout you did that morning. It's like just the other decisions start to just stack on top of the one that was like, let's start training.
And then slowly you start a routine that you're going to be able to follow, for sure.
You guys, like, some of those, you mentioned discipline and consistency. Like, do you see young athletes or younger folks, men or women, do they resonate faster or quicker than people with a different age group, whether let's just say it's 20s, 30s, or 40s? Like, when someone walks in, does an older group of people or a younger group of people react better or faster? Is there any characteristic?
What I've seen, I see this on the athlete side, and I see this on the entrepreneurship side, the business executives and things like that. The younger ones, they want to come in and they want to, like, whether it's established like dominance or go, and it's like they'll be hard for a couple weeks, couple sessions here and there, and then they start to fall off because it wasn't realistic to maintain that level. Whereas whether it's like the vets that come in or the bigger time business executives who it's actually a huge part of their life, they just stay steady, do the right thing every single day, and they don't miss, and they are consistent, and they've chosen a route that they can maintain for a long period of time, as opposed to take the rocket ship off.
Yeah, and then
they
somewhere.
They come in, they know what they have to get done, they get it done. They don't worry about like who's looking, who's watching, and then boom.
There's nothing to prove.
Nothing to prove.
Have you seen any of the younger athletes respond to some of the older wisdom?
Yes, I mean, what's cool about Sukha right now is you've got MLB All-Stars, you've got Rookie of the Years running around, you've got these business executives. What's cool about the Restore area, as they might not be on the same training program, we do have our Restore area, which is the saunas and the cold plunges. And everyone kind of meets together out there. And all of a sudden, nobody's in the sauna, nobody's in the cold plunges, but everyone's talking.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like community and people actually talking about normal life things, and all of a sudden not talking about the actual training.
Yeah.
It's impressive. And you see the older, I'd say older, very
people
lightly.
No, but
taking and instilling like very important things into the younger people.
And you see the lead on, like, for instance, like we can use some of our pro baseball guys. You see like the MLB All-Stars, some of them will come at 8 a.m. before they train at 10 to do cold plunge. And it was only like a couple of them at first. And then after a few weeks, the young lads like start to see it, and I was like, oh wow. And then now it's like 6 guys every day, 8 a.m. the first thing they do together. So it's I think it's amazing to see and to witness that for sure.
So I can attest to the fact that I've had some really cool conversations and experiences out in that Restore area, and one of the coolest ones I had was I was in the sauna, and I was with 2 younger folks. They're probably in their mid-20s. And they were talking about the cost and just expense to work out, expense to do this, expense to do that. They were getting married. That was a whole bunch of things. And someone was thinking about not leaving, but they were talking about their friend was like, oh, I didn't want to join because it's so expensive. And they gave them their reasoning why they should focus on spending money on their health and wellness. I said, well, here's another thing. It's like, what did that person want to do? They were trying to get to this place in their life. They were in the real estate world. They wanted to get into banking. They wanted to get into finance. And I said, do you know, like, would you think that person would invest like $10,000 so they could skip like 10 years? And they're like, yeah, of course. I'm like, well, they should be working out here, because do you know how many people are in here and what they do? Like in Tampa or in any major city, a very great gym full of high performers or high performers, and in your guys' world, there's people in there that, like you said, there's athletes and people know who they are. But there's a lot of corporate athletes in there too. Like you can get to just about anything you need to within a little 150 people membership at Sukha in Tampa, maybe even in Florida. And so it was a different perspective. I don't think people realize, like, your journey that you don't think you have time for to get to the gym, how much faster your journey can move because of the people you surround yourself with.
For sure.
Sukha's a great representation of that. And the Restore area is probably the coolest part for that too. Aside from the fact it's a nice way to incorporate sauna and cold plunge that I didn't have a perspective for, but I love it now.
For sure, I think people just like, it's not like a proper interview. People feel free, after a workout, they go in the sauna, they feel they can just be themselves, share, whether it's with a pro athletes or just like a normal, like a high executive. And I think that's the beauty of it, and it's really something that we really wanted to create as a community, for sure.
So let's talk about switching to some of your guys' challenges of starting the business. And like, I've known you guys since you were both at a different place, training people, taking care of people, doing the same similar environments of fitness, whether it was in Saddlebrook at a specialty resort, or you were at camp. And I met you guys at camp over there, and there's group fitness and there's yoga, and then there's private workouts and like this environment. Then eventually the two of you guys came together with the thought of starting Sukha, and you both had your entrepreneurial journees. Both of you found fun, failure, success, not so much fun in that, but yet like creating this environment. So talk about why Sukha and why that specific time and place resonated with you to start.
So my first love in the fitness industry was coaching, and I've always really loved coaching, loved communicating with people, and loved the actual training aspect. But for instance, I was coaching one day, and this little dweeb and his buddies came in and took one of my sessions. They take their shirts off. They got abs all over the place. I'm like, who are these guys? And like as a coach, you're like, this is my room, you know? Come on. Yeah. This is my training floor. And they made it theirs very quickly. And then a couple of weeks went by, and all of a sudden we're doing an audition process and hiring new coaches. And here's this little dweeb again, shows up, and it turns out to be Brian. So we started coaching together and on the same staff for a while. And something that was really cool that I saw, you know, I had this image of Brian, those first couple of weeks of like thinking he's showing off, and really what it boiled down to was he was just expressing his love for fitness. And shortly after, he had reached out to me about actual like coaching and me training him while he was a coach at this company we were with. He'd drive an hour to Saddlebrook, we'd train, and he'd drive an hour back down. So he was taking hours out of his day to train, and that whole time he was just developing his craft. And you know, not only was he developing his craft, but he was also, you know, changing my life for the rest of my life. And here we are now. We spent some time away. He kind of went to the restaurant industry, which he can build on, and I stayed in the fitness industry doing the whole coaching thing because that's what I truly loved. And I knew he had ideas of brands. He knew the customer experience side. He knew how to develop a brand into something you can like put your hands on. And I knew if I didn't do something with him, all I would ever be is just a coach. And here we are now.
That's awesome. I didn't know that you did that commuting up to Saddlebrook. I mean, that's not close. It's like
he would drive up at 6 a.m. We'd train from 7 to 8:30, and he'd make it back down for a 10 o'clock class.
I mean, when you look back, Dylan and I are so different. When you look back, everyone would say there's no way those two could be friends. But I think it's because of the fact we were so different, and at the same time we realized that we share the same principle. Like we're extremely hardworking people. Like we've always been honest, transparent, and then always extremely disciplined. I think that's how we really started to build like a true friendship together. And then like when I always say that everything happens for a reason. Like I firmly believe it. Like when we were at camp and then I was on my way out, I knew that my next step was to again go through some sort of disruption, and then I always wanted to own my own business. And then so I had to take a step back, and then I had an opportunity to go in a restaurant while Dylan was building his own craft and his own clientele. And then in the back of my mind, I always knew that one day we would go back together.
We didn't ever really speak about it either. I mean, we spoke, we knew we had spent a lot of time together, but it's not like we'd talk about it every week. I mean, we would go months without speaking to one another once he was on his way out. But every time we came back together, it was like the love for one another hadn't, like nothing separated at all. We was still there every single time we were back together, whether it was training or coffee or food or something. It was like, oh shit, this thing's real.
Yeah. And then and the rest is history. You know, everything happened, I mean, so quickly.
And then even when you do it though, like we did it, you do the Instagram post, like we're back together, the boys are back together, we're starting this brand. Like all of a sudden everyone like is like, oh no, they're not, they can't do it. And then 8 months go by and everyone's doing their New Year's resolution stuff, and everyone looks back at the gym, even like members, they're like, wow, I can't believe what you guys have created. and it's like a weird feeling because it's like, fuck you, yes, yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah.
You kidding me? So it's like a weird.
So I know
It's been a weird like.
Yeah.
People can't believe it. It's like, come on.
And it's a totally different environment to like be able to get the feedback that you someone might have in a different place, but that you wouldn't have it or you wouldn't hear it because
Exactly.
it's a different experience type.
And then us coming together at the beginning of last year, January, because everything happened in a matter of like 4 months.
Boom.
I think it was the perfect timing because in a couple of years before that, I gained the experience of how to run a business and how to really like showcase a brand, and Dylan really like solidify his clientele and then really like solidify his craft, and then we came at the right time together. And then I think maybe if that was like a couple of years before that, maybe things would have been maybe different. I'm not sure, but I think like everything came at the right time. And then I had we had no doubt in our mind that we were gonna do it.
So no doubts, plan it perfectly,
No doubt.
get it open. What was the first challenges you didn't expect? What were some of the hard parts that just came along you didn't see coming?
We face challenges every day that.
Every day, but there was no like one chance to say, "Wow, are we actually going to be able to do it?" We didn't.
No,
have
never
any.
thought that because it was a full-on jump. Like,
Like
we're
just
going.
like in a matter of
We're
a week,
going.
I was like, "Okay, D, I'm out. I'm leaving the restaurant. I sold everything." It was like that. It happened like that 1 month. Then I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And then it took us 2 months to build the brand, to really build the brand, the idea behind it, the model, the philosophy behind everything, the culture, the mission, and then we went all in. Since January of last year to this day today, we didn't stop one day. Like there's no one day where we stopped.
Yeah. How'd you guys come up with the name Sukha?
I'm not going to talk on this one.
So I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I'm a big advocate for like what people call a sound bath. So it's some sort of like guided meditation, breathing meditation, where in some situations it's always with a guide, but in some situation they offer you to take mushrooms and then other sorts of, they call it medicine, but in that situation was MDMA. And then I'm going to be honest, and I've been doing it. I've been introduced by a friend to do it a couple of years ago, and then I'll never forget that first. They call it a journey, so it's like an 8 hours journey where you really lay down for 8 hours, and then you are under the influence of the medicine, and then that first journey changed my life, and it changed my life forever. And then since that day, I've tried to do at least two or three journeys a year, just to, again, it's some sort of mental disruption that I go through. And then I remember last year when we were starting to talk about, okay, what's going to be the name for our brand and stuff, I had no idea. But I was like, let me do a sound bath and then see what I can come up with. And then
that next morning, we had breakfast planned at like 11 or 12. And I've got like all the plans of the gym laid out. Like, Brian, hey, here's the gym layout. It's great. And he sat down and he said, I've got the name.
And then everything, that journey, I never
He said
forget.
it like 4 times. I was like, dude, you gotta write that.
And then it's a name that I never heard before.
Yeah.
Never. To this day, I never heard of the name before. And then everything came in my mind. The name of the brand, the way we should portray, showcase it, like the idea behind it, and then we just started to build on that.
Mm-hmm. So you want to hear what's insane? Literally 2 weeks ago, I had guests in here. Their podcast episode is either just out or about to be out. And she sat where you're sitting. Her name is Lauren, and she told the exact same story.
What?
About sound bath. Right here.
I know it's a...
And the experience she described and how much better she is today and what she found and what she left behind that completely changed her life was all through that same exact process.
It gives me goosebumps that you say that. And then I know like it can sound like to a lot of people intimidating because you have to be willing to surrender yourself completely, especially when you take medicines. Like you're gonna have to accept the fact that you're gonna lose control. But if you're able to do that, it's gonna change your life forever.
Yeah.
And then I really wish, like, I think it's only the beginning of like sound baths in the world. I think it's gonna be huge.
She described it the same exact way.
Wow.
And I actually heard one of my mentors, Andy Frisilla, we talked about, literally had just shared a story like this on his podcast, which I don't think he did a guided sound bath. He did an accidental one, which is amazing. If no one's heard that, we should find the episode and post it because it's great. But what he got out of it, what he's used, what he saw, the questions that he got answered. And when I say questions you got to answer, I don't mean like a magic genie. I'm talking about like the ones that are deep in your soul that you don't understand and probably don't share with anybody. Like he got those answers, and like listening to him describe that, and then Lauren, and then you. This is like literally within a 30-day period. It's remarkable. But yeah, that's I get it. I believe it too. Watching yourself think is one of those things that if you can learn how to do that, and that's certainly a way to do it. That's pretty cool to watch.
So that's how we got it in.
That's great. Because I've never heard it before either, and it wasn't like, really? You guys were so confident and sure when you had it. I'm like, okay, cool. I guess Sukha, like, okay, cool. I just like roll in.
Yeah, I guess.
But I think it sticks well too, and obviously the branding's cool. Did the brand and the image come to you too?
In some way, then we did some digging.
Yeah, we did some digging.
Work with different people, to clean that up.
But at the end of the day, you have to carry out. They give you this brand guide, and it's like, it can just be a PDF presentation they give you. At the end of the day, if you don't actually carry it out and do the damn thing, it's like.
And me, like seeing the vision behind the brand and stuff was one thing. Like, my biggest concern after that journey was to convince him, because I had like fears that I was like, oh my God, he's gonna think I'm crazy. He's gonna think I'm nuts, and then I'm like, wow. So I had to. That was my point, my biggest fear, to really say, lad, this is what we should name it, and then here's why. And then the fact that I think one of his biggest strengths, it's always doesn't matter how the knowledge that he has, he's the most open-minded individual that I know. And then he's always gonna, again, like you go back to that, always leave his ego at the door, and then always gonna be open to listen. And I think like that's something that I'll forever be grateful for that.
Yeah, Dylan's somebody, I probably never shared this with you, but if he trusts you, and maybe not even trust the word, but like respects, you could be on almost any topic. Dylan's kind of the person who, like, if he believes you believe it, he'll give it a whirl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he's uncomfortable doing it.
He's got this capacity that he is able to sit back when he knows when to jump in and when to sit back. And I think there's not a lot of people that can do that, especially nowadays. So
yeah, because he's not ultra curious. Like, you're cool to take a ride, but not because you're curious.
Correct.
That's pretty funny. Tell me about what your vision of Sukha is next. So you've opened the gym, it's full. Like, you got cool areas. We've talked about some of these things, but you guys have a bigger vision. What is it?
Yeah, I think obviously we had no doubt in our mind that we would be like I don't want to call ourselves successful, but I didn't have any content that we would like jump in like straight away. But I think our goal, our vision now, obviously it's doing good. We have a great member base, and I think our vision now for this year is to really, I think, solidify our team, make sure that we really keep building on what we're building, because like I think sometimes it can be very easy for us to get pulled in so many directions and say, okay, we should do that. I think like now we have to be mindful to not take what we've built for granted, and then it's only been 8 months. And then just take it like one day at a time and really solidify what we've started. I think that's the short-term vision. Really make sure that we have everything in place properly.
I think much like we believe everyone's fitness journey should be like, we've kind of taken the foundational approach to this. Like, you've always told us, keep your membership base here, hammer the foundations, do it perfect, and then you can scale it, whether that's to more people in-house or to more facilities down the line or other offerings and things like that. So
really solidify the foundations. I think we started to build strong foundations, but again, everything happens so quickly, and then everything can turn upside down as well very quickly. So I think we're extremely mindful of that, and then our goal for this year is to just like make sure that we keep delivering the same product with the same execution.
I think one of the problems, you asked what some of the problems were, is it's good problems to have, but everyone around you somehow has an opinion about your business. And it's like they try to, you guys should go in this avenue, or you should go this route, or we have this opportunity here, we have this opportunity here. And then Brian and I, we've done a good job of sitting down together and being like, hey, what do we want? This opportunity was presented to us. Does that fit with where we want this thing to go? Because we have some damn good ideas, and that's why we're here right now. How does it fit our model? So I think that's one of the things we've really sat down and talked about creating. Our goal this year is to know who we are and what we are in those opportunities that we want to chase.
And I think that's the beauty of him and I being being a team together. Because I think if we would have been solo, it would have been a different story. It's much easier to get influenced by other people. And I think we do a very good job at saying, okay, if I say, I think we should do that, is wait, let's just back up for a little, let's see on it. And I think we do a very good job at that.
Whenever he's down to do something, it's weird. I might not be. And then whenever I'm really down to do something, Brian's like, D, pull back. It's like, very rarely are we both like, let's go.
Yeah, that's true.
That kind of proves.
To find out what you want to do when you're both on the same page.
No, but it forces us to again always leave our ego on the door, and then we always respect each other's opinion, and then at the end we're always going to do what's best for the business, for the team, and then for us.
Do you guys have you seen yet in your mind what Sukha looks like 5 years from now or 10 years from now, or are you still figuring it out?
I think we're still figuring it out a little bit. It looks like it does now. Like right now we have you said the word corporate athletes. That's a great way to put it. We've got our corporate athlete program, our general population. We've got our athletes depending on the off season. We've got our restorative offering between the saunas and the cold plunges. We've got some open gym offerings, whether it's our outdoor program that we run, or we've got our class-based business, and then we've got our massage therapy and IV solutions and things like that. So we've got all these things and offerings going on in-house, and it's just doing it at a larger scale, I think, is one easy way to put it. We're operating all of that right now out of a 3,000 square foot space.
Yeah. I think what your guys' story is cool. It's not the perfect space that you might have designed if you're building a brand new building. I mean, if anyone saw the space you guys moved into prior to, you could see that phrase 70% perfect is perfect. Dude, you made an amazing space out of something that you would have never picked on paper for a gym, but it's what makes it so cool, because everyone can have a box with a bunch of stuff around the perimeter and walking around. That's boring, but this is not boring. You got the fact that I got to weave in and out of some spots, and it kind of makes it cool. Like in fact, I lose my water bottle, I can't remember where I stuck it. I don't have one spot I can put it. I just gotta, it's kind of fun in a sense like that. So people are listening to you right now. They're like, okay, I got to get into this gym. Maybe they got a cool environment, but I don't live in Tampa. So how do I even start? I'm running a business. I've worked out before. Maybe I haven't. I've neglected it, and it seems insurmountable. Oh my God, I'm going to work out with this guy who's been consistent, regular, a bunch of hard hitters, and a bunch of professional athletes. That seems intimidating, right? So how do I get unintimidated? Where do I start? How could I even get started if I'm in Dallas, for example?
My first recommendation for those people is to get off Instagram and to stop thinking you have to be a certain way, look a certain way, and do it a certain way. Everyone's journey is going to be different. The reason I train and I love to train is completely different than the way Brian likes to train and why Brian trains, which is different from yours. You need to latch on to someone that you do trust, that can at least open the door to the fitness journey. But once you're in the door, it's make it yours. Do it how you want to do it. And you need to try all the modalities, try the yogas, try the Pilates, try the strength training, try the endurance training. And once you try all these things, something is going to be like, ooh, I really liked that. I liked the way that felt. I think the boutique fitness space is a great way to be introduced to a lot of different things. Yeah. And then find that thing, and then you can start digging the hole and go into some deeper places with it. You know, the strength training might not be for everybody, but, you know, Brian taking Pilates might resonate with him, and you can go down some really deep paths there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think there's no wrong way. Like, get moving, get started.
Just get
Food's
moving.
Definitely part of it, but so is exercise, so is cardio, so is weights.
And like you said, stay away from social media. Like, I think now we live in a world where, like, we all compare each other to, like, all those big social media influencers, and then it's tough to do it. You know, it's like, oh my God, like, if they all look like that, and there's no point for me to start. So I think stay away from it, and then just, like, start somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. What things have I not asked you guys that I should have?
Well,
that's a good question.
I think something cool is what Sukha means to us, and it is the pursuit of mindfulness and happiness through alignment of the mind and the body. Mm-hmm. At Sukha, we do it through physical struggle. So everyone that comes through the door is going to have some sort of physical struggle, some sort of mental struggle, going down these deep, dark places that we take you. And there's going to be some sort of doing it with the people that you love in your community. Mm-hmm. And I think the more we keep saying what our mission is and what Sukha means to us, the more it comes to life, and the more people start chasing their own Sukha. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because like I said, everyone's journey
is different.
Is so different. Even if it's inside a 3,000 square foot space, you're going to use it different than how I'm going to use it, and Brian's going to use it different than how we use it. Yeah. It's like, as long as you're doing it your way.
And then we know from the start, we always said that we will build this place. It's not going to be for everyone. And then we're okay with that. I think we're here to build like a unique community, and then some might, some might stick around for a bit, and then they might just like figure it out that it's just not the right fit, and I think we're fine with that. We're not trying to appeal to everyone, and I think that was very important for us from the start.
Because from where Brian and I come from, our past, like, we've never not been the answer. Like, we've always been the go-to guys at, like, the top of whatever company you're at. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, we have Sukha, we have our baby, and someone turns and says, I'm canceling my membership, or you're not for me. And the first couple, like, hurt. It's like, damn,
it still hurts, and we see like every time, like, if someone can, like, it's still, I think to this day, if someone will cancel now, like, I think we'll be, damn, like, what else can we do to, like, what can we do better? Like, is it something that we do wrong? And then I think it's important for us to remember that, like, it's okay. We're not for everyone, and it's fine.
And not only not for everyone, but maybe not for everyone right now. Like, there could be a time they come back, and I think
absolutely.
That's when you get to choose, like, who you bring back, when you bring back, if they come back. It depends on what, and part of that's why they go. You know?
For sure.
It's interesting. What you mentioned deep, dark places, right? So, like, what defined that to someone?
So,
good.
You know what's something super cool, an avenue that I'm starting to go down because of Brian, is the endurance avenue. It's easier to chase that deep, dark place, I think, on the endurance side than it is just the strength side. But so I am running London Marathon with Brian. But something that's cool is through this endurance work, it's like you're able to think about and find yourself in some weird thoughts that, like, that wouldn't come to you just, like, as you're sipping coffee home on the couch and things like that. It's like you meet some demons and some guy on your shoulder saying, stop, no, that shit doesn't feel good. Like, turn around, go the other way, stop, walk, like, go do something comfortable. And it's like, I've found through, like, just this training program we're doing now is, like, you hear those voices in deep, dark places a lot, and, like, you find quite a few answers in them.
Yeah.
And then you become more and more familiar with that darker place, and that darker place gets a little bit further and further and further away, and next thing you know, it's like, wow, I got to go pretty far to find that thing. But let's go do it because it's fun.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I wanted you to define it in your way because I want people to hear like deep dark places, like, oh my gosh, what am I scared to know? But I like to define the deep dark places. It's exactly what you think about typically maybe right before you're going to bed, like the worst thing you did that you haven't forgiven yourself for, right? Or the things you should do, you want to do, or you promised yourself you were going to do, but you haven't. And like, I think one of the coolest things that you can find about the deep dark place is that really is like a huge sense of motivation that you can like harness and access that doesn't, for someone that's hearing this now, I'm like, I never even know what that means. I'm telling you, like, that is some of the most powerful motivation you can use. And I think about that myself. When I don't want to do something, I could think about like that deep, like dark place of not just physical uncomfort, but like even just the mental uncomfort, and say, all right, well, like either that person is going to be right, or I'm going to do this thing right now that like I'll keep that game going a little longer and prove them wrong, you know. But like I don't get to prove them wrong yet. But like if I quit right now, I'm definitely going to prove them they were right and I was wrong.
It's true.
Yeah. It is cool to find that, but I think in order to overcome it mentally, you have to be able to, if you can get there physically, the mental will kick in and you can push yourself past the mental. Like that phrase I always used to say, and I've told you guys before, but like, I know I'm not going to die. Like I'll repeat that to myself 1,000 times doing something uncomfortable, like in the gym in particular.
The more you encounter it, the more comfortable you get with it, and the more it pushes away.
Yeah.
And I think everyone should seek that feeling, you know, of being uncomfortable. I think the day you stop feeling this way, and then you stop like getting feel like, even to this day, like a lot of people, everyone thinks I love running, but to this day, I hate running.
Yeah.
I hate, like every Monday morning when I run, I'm like, nah, I don't want to. And sometimes like when I have a long run, I still have like those those butterflies in my stomach. I'm like, dang, I'm like a little scared, but I think that feeling of discomfort is it's essential. Like the day you don't feel that feeling anymore, I think is the day you become complacent.
Yeah, I don't like the gym. I mean, there's certain days in the gym you love more than others, but I always particularly love being done. Like I love that more than I love the gym. I love knowing I went to the gym. It's like that's the, if someone says, "Oh, you're so addicted," I'm like, "Oh, I'm actually addicted not to the gym. I'm addicted to when I leave. The minute
the accomplishment,
yeah,
the achievement of it, 100%.
But that does carry throughout the day. I think that's what people need to realize too. Is like the more, like, you know, again, if your mind, your body, and your heart are your weapons, like fitness is going to touch all those. And if you're going to sharpen those tools, you're going to be much more successful in everything else you do.
You're gonna feel. I mean, when you get a good workout done, a long run done, you're gonna feel. I mean, you're gonna feel like a badass after that, and say, "Wow, I did something hard this morning." And
especially if you really didn't want to do it.
Exactly.
You don't feel good about the things you want to do. You feel good about the things you did that you don't want to do.
It's all in you. It's all a mental battle.
Yeah. Anything else that you guys want to touch on that I haven't done before we wrap it up?
No, I think that was
pretty good.
Does anybody have a cool story you want to share of somebody's journey that you're most proud of, that you remember, like in your professional world, like you met this person at this place and you've watched them evolve to something that is like a motivation for you, that you've seen your work help?
I think to this day I still wake up some mornings, I'm like waking up, I'm like, wow, I still have a hard time to believe that what we're doing, you know, like everything happened so quickly. We've been non-stop since we opened, even before that. And then sometimes I really have to pinch myself and say, okay, let's just take a minute back. And then, because like every day just goes like that, and then every weekend, and it's been non-stop. And then I always try to remind him and say, let's try to step back for a little minute and just enjoy like what what we're creating. Because
Brian always says, don't take ourselves too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself telling him that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Brian, stop taking yourself so seriously.
No,
I
because
had a pretty good feeling when I got to tell
this
you
shit is
that.
hard. Like train. Like you give so much to people. You give every morning. You wake up, and then you give every single ounce of energy that you have for others.
Because it's very important for us when 18 people come into the gym, every single one of those people, I want them to feel like it's only them in there. And they had their own experience with me in a separate conversation on that day. They knew I was there for just them. At some point, it might have been only one conversation, but they knew they were mine for that 1 second where we could talk and connect. And if we're doing that every single day, every single hour, for 12 hours a day.
The fitness industry, like everyone thinks, oh yeah, it's fun, it's easy, but it's probably one of the industry where I think you can get burned out the quickest. And then one of the reasons is because you give everything you've got to people. Like, you know, when we wake up and when we go home, like, we've got nothing else to give. And then our goal is to reset and then go again the next day, and then go again the next day. And then I think one promise that we made to each other before we open was that we always told each other that we would try to stay as in shape as we can while we open Sukha, because obviously it gets hard for us to train, you know, to stay in shape when you train so many people and you give so much. So I think like we always promise each other that we will keep each other accountable, whether it's we're doing like a crazy endurance challenge, like we're gonna run London together, and I'm so grateful for that. But I think like it was very important for us to set those boundaries.
Because at the end of the day, we have to be the example as well.
Yeah.
Like, everyone has their own hard. Like, everyone's day is hard. And our day's hard, Brian's is hard, yours is hard. But it's like, if I don't train when my day's hard, it's like I'm never going to train. And we have to be the example.
Yeah.
You know, no one wants to train with that personal trainer who's out of shape, eating the Big Mac behind the counter. It's like, you want to train with the guy that's badass and is going to do what he says he's going to do.
It's true. There's a lot of truth to that. And that goes with anything in life. Like whatever business, people want to see you walking the walk, living it. Fellas, I personally have enjoyed this a lot. I love hearing you guys' story. I think it's great that people can now see, like, how could this construction podcast of subcontractors figure out, like, why would you have two fitness guys in here? And I think the journeys are the same. That's what I learned. I mean, the journeys are the same. The principles of success are the same. You're fighting the same entrepreneurial fight. You have the same customers, same customer issues, same business issues. Cash flow moves in, cash flow moves out. I mean, it's a problem for everyone, but it's cool to see, like, if your mind, your body, and your heart are your weapons, like, get in the gym and train them, and you're going to be that much more successful on your path.
For sure.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks for having us, guys. Thank you so much.
It's awesome, and your story's great. I can't wait to see how it gets going and finishes. I'll be around long enough.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Well, everyone, if you like this episode, I really would like you guys to go and follow both Brian and Dylan on Instagram. You can, we'll put it in the notes where you guys can connect them. Both have great stories. You'll see lots of images from Sukha. I hope this has helped you guys. Keep up with them, because when they do bring out new things in their business, I'm sure you'll want to share it and see it. And so please share this episode. Click subscribe if you watch this on YouTube, and share it with your friends. Thank you guys very much, and God bless.